I'm standing here in our Reserve Cabernet block. The vineyard was first planted in the early 70s by Justin Meyer, and he planted it for an insurance company. Prior to that time, it was actually a dairy farm. In 1982, when Dennis and Judy started making wine from the vineyard, Niels Wenge, who was the original winemaker at Groth, found that there was one particular area of the vineyard that was producing the finest Cabernet that he saw from the entire acreage, which was about 120 acres. And he was able to talk Dennis and Judy into making a small amount of what he called Reserve Cabernet in 1983. So we have been making Reserve Cabernet off of this block since 1983. And in fact, in 1985, Niels was able to make a very small amount of a wonderful Cabernet, 1985 Reserve Cabernet. It was the first domestic Cabernet to be given a perfect score by Robert Parker.
These stones represent the heart and soul of the sweet spot in our Groth Reserve Vineyard. Deposited here millions of years ago by an ancient alluvial fan out of the Vaca range, all that's left is a narrow little slice of this soil, and we're fortunate enough to have Cabernet planted on top of it. All the Cabernet for our Groth Reserve and our Oakville Cabernet are all harvested by hand. It's that care and attention to detail out in the field where we have essentially our first sorting pass. I have a very simple rule for the pickers. If you wouldn't eat it, if you wouldn't put it in your mouth, I don't want it in my wine. After hand harvesting all of this magnificent fruit at night, and we do that in order to maintain the freshness and ensure that we've got nice, cool fruit being delivered to the winery. We move all of this fruit in small bins, only a few hundred yards really, to the winery, where we're going to begin processing as soon as possible in order to ensure quality throughout the process and get all that beautiful fruit into the tank within the first few hours after it lands. We're going to begin the whole process by removing the berries from the stem. We use a newer machine to do that. It's called a pelunk. And it basically shakes the cluster and pops the berries off. The berries then fall through a set of sorting rollers to ensure that the only thing going into the tank is this pure, beautiful fruit.
Isn't it great that the 2013 vintage was so good?
Oh yeah.
Especially after the 12. Big vintage, but tremendously good.
It's so much fun when you get a string of good vintages all in a row like that.
I think part of the whole thing with the 13 that was really nice is that would have been our 8th year in this room, which was designed specifically to barrel down the Reserve Cabernet for the first year. We can have warm temperatures for malolactic fermentation, and we can chill it down. We also humidify it, so we have access to all the barrels for our stirring during our surly aging and everything. It's great.
Gives us a lot of flexibility, and it's a beautiful space.
Yeah.
So some of the things that these wonderful coopers that we're working with really bring to the wine is a beautiful enhancement of the aromas. You get a little bit of that sweet vanilla character, a little bit of spice, sometimes a hint of smoke or toast.
Always looking for coopers that will enhance the wine itself rather than overshadow the wine.
Oh, absolutely.
We definitely want it to be an element there, but not the major element.
I think it's a real tribute to the quality of this vineyard and the nature of this Reserve Cabernet vineyard here on the Groth Oakville estate, is that it can carry 100% new French oak without being overwhelmed by those barrels.
Absolutely. I think this is one of the best, probably in the last 5 or 6 years.
Oh yeah, and we're in the middle of just a wonderful string of them too. Huge wine. It's gonna last forever in bottle.
Cheers.